If you believe the legend, drag racing's roots came from the American moonshine days in the 20s. 40 years on and Britain was really taking the sport seriously. But it was 1965 with the creation of Santa Pod that put us on the world stage. Last month, they celebrated 30 years of action. I hate to dent your egos, chaps, but you're just not cut out to dominate drag racing. Because the fastest driver is a lady, Vivica Avestedt, and all 5 foot of her has travelled at 291 miles an hour in just over 5 seconds. And this weekend, she hopes to be the first driver in Europe to break the 4-second record. Also trying to get under 5 seconds are last year's European champion from Denmark, Jens Nybo. From Germany, Rico Anthers. In a top Fuel Dragster for the first time, Gary Page. Britain's Andy Bad Boy Carter and 93 champion Pelli Lindelow from Sweden.
It's wonderful to beat the guys. I mean, I'm the fastest person in Europe, so I mean, it feels very good to be that, I promise you.
Surprisingly, you can lose your race, not here at the finish, but all the way down there at the start. Fail to warm your tyres up and lay down enough rubber and you won't get good traction off the start. On the Christmas tree, the amber lights are only full on for 0.4 of a second, and they say if you see the full green, you've lost the race. There's no way of getting into these monsters elegantly, especially if you're small. Vivica competes at the top of the sport, top Fuel Dragsters. They run on nitromethane and produce nearly 6,000 brake horsepower from their 8-litre engines. But now and again things do go wrong. Gary Page's engine apparently leaked fuel and the fire marshal told him to shut down. That left Vivica to run the quarter mile on her own. Even so, she set a brilliant time of 5.33 seconds, travelling at just over 246 miles an hour. Next up was Rico Anthers facing Jens Nybo on the near side. He left Rico standing, but he clearly had difficulty keeping his dragster in a straight line. Still, he set a time of 6.34 seconds. But it's not all over for Rico. Jens is disqualified for running out of his lane. In a single run, the engines will consume 13 gallons of nitromethane, or not if your clutch can't handle the power. Andy Carter's left on the line, and Pelli Lindelow is through to the semis. The idea is to run the engine to within an inch of its life for 5 seconds and then shut it off quickly before it blows up. All that stress means an engine rebuild before the next race, which gives the drivers plenty of time to reflect on their run.
Maybe I should be pleased, but I'm not, because 5:33, it's not too good time, but compared to, we hurted a lot of parts, and we dropped 2 cylinders, so I ran with 6 cylinders. So maybe it was a good run, but I'm not pleased.
The next category down is called Top Alcohol, and the cars run on methanol instead of nitromethane, which means they only push out about 2,500 to 3,500 horsepower, but still reach speeds of up to 230 miles an hour in a quarter mile. In Top Alcohol racing, the dragsters are pitched up alongside the funny cars. Funny cars are loosely based on production cars with less stability due to a shorter wheelbase. Alex Yoon's Dodge Daytona came up against Peter Beck's dragster. It's neck and neck all the way, but Beck wins by 0.02 of a second at 6.4 seconds. Barry Sheevels has been British champion for the past 2 years and is ranked 4th in Europe, and the last person, rookie Mick Gledos on the far side, wanted to come up against in the first round, and he struggled. Despite the win, even the experienced Barry had a hair-raising moment.
You focus yourself on the end of the track normally, you know, and look at the end of the track, and when you start seeing the sky, it's a really unusual sensation. But luckily for me, it wasn't a blowover. If the wind gets underneath the car, then they go over.
Blowovers are something you don't worry about in the Pro Modified section. They're affectionately known as door slammers because they've got 2 doors. They've also got 4 gear levers to get through in 3 seconds, and they run on high-octane petrol with nitrous oxide injection. Al Packman's Ford Scorpio on the far side got off to a flyer, leaving Phil Engelfield's Toyota Supra on the line with a broken clutch. The second semi-final was settled by psychological warfare at the lights. On the right, Andy Robinson weakened, jumped the lights and was instantly disqualified. That left Nick Davis heading for the final. And he tried the same on Al Pacman in the final, holding on the line. But it wouldn't work twice, especially on last year's champion, and Pacman dived down the near side track to win in under 7 seconds, extending his lead in the Pro Modified Championship. Rob Turner in his top alcohol car had had an easy walkover in the quarter-finals, and now he faced Peter Beck. They reached 100 miles an hour in under a second and were neck and neck until Beck found that something extra. The second semi-final, and Barry Sheevels on the near side just managed to control his car this time and left Alan Jackson's Oldsmobile for dead. But the final wouldn't be so easy. Peter Beck had set a 6.25, which Sheevels hadn't been able to match on previous runs. He'd need good anticipation and lightning reactions to the lights, which he got, but then Beck put down more power and pulled past to take the win in 6.27 seconds. With the light fading fast, Vivica Avestedt and Rico Anthes prepare for their Top Fuel final and the last race on the present track before it's redesigned. Vivica was psyched up, focused and ready to go. But Rico's engine had failed to start. Vivica played safe on a dewy track to take the win. This weekend the teams moved to Avon Park Raceway near Stratford-upon-Avon for their next encounter. Perhaps that's where the 5-second barrier will be broken.